This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
A warm-up for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Hoops Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got a great podcast for you. In segment number 1, we did see some pretty big news out of college basketball over the weekend. Tyon Grant-Foster, who it felt like was going to be trying to play his 17th year of college basketball, he had his waiver denied by the NCAA. We're going to be talking about what that all means for Gonzaga, but I still do have them as my number 1 team out there in the WCC, but what that could mean moving forward. And we did our interview with Ryan McIntyre, who's going to be joining me in segment number 2 before we knew about the news of Tyon Grant-Foster not being eligible this year. But with Ryan, we're going to be talking about some of the characteristics that he looks at for teams early on during the season. We'll talk about some of the mid-tier Big 12 teams. We'll talk a little bit about the ACC, how much / how little he makes out of these exhibition matchups as well. So we've got a lot to chat about with our good friend Ryan. And if you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter /X questions today, everything is indeed powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever. With EdgeBoost, 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. And when you go to EdgeBoost.bet, make sure you utilize that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That gets you a $1 for $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's decipher what we all saw with Tyon Grant-Foster not being allowed to play college basketball this season. Now, he had played 4 years of Division I college basketball, and he had played at the junior college level as well. But one of those years, he only played 1 game at DePaul because he had a lot of injuries. I think that there was an actual medical scare that was beyond an injury. So that's a big reason why he only played 1 game there. And it's very intriguing with these new rules that allow some of these guys that played at the junior college level to have a extra year of Division I eligibility. Many people thought that Tyon Grant-Foster was going to be able to be out there. I personally thought that Tyon Grant-Foster was going to be able to get his waiver approved and he was going to be out there for Gonzaga, but even without Tyon Grant-Foster, this team is going to be fine. If you look at what Tyon Grant-Foster did last year, he was obviously a stat sheet stuffer, a guy that would be able to give you 15 plus points per contest, 6 boards, a block, a steal. He did all those good things, but he also was a sub 25% three-point shooter. That hurts. Now you've got the man of steel, Seal Venters, and who knows about his health. He has missed each of the last 2 years due to injury, but when he was at Eastern Washington, he was a 16 plus point per game scorer. Jalen Worley, he comes in after he was a do-it-all sort of dynamo over at Florida State along Virginia. Missed all of last year himself. Adam Miller began his career over at Illinois and Arizona State as a less than efficient three-point shooter. Last year shot 40% for 3. Graham Ike, if you look at just the raw per-minute numbers, now this is not the per-game numbers or anything like that, because in a lot of cases, Graham Ike was playing 20, 21 minutes in a lot of these games. I know that there was a little bit of a period of the season where he was in the Mark Few doghouse, but if you look at things on a per minute basis, among qualifying Division I players last year, he was number 2 in terms of points per minute. He scored 0.75 points per minute. Only Anthony Roy, who had a very limited season due to injury, scored more points on a per minute basis of any eligible player in all of college basketball. And the way that he was able to hit the boards as well, he should be in for a really, really dominant dominant year. I know that Graham Ike sometimes does have his inefficiencies and his inconsistencies, but again, you'll look at per minute basis and a per minute basis only for Graham Ike. He was also one of the best rebounders in all of college basketball, top 70 player in terms of total rebounds on a per minute basis as well. So I think that this is a Gonzaga team that's going to be set up well. They bring in a guy in Braden Huff who's got some nice versatility. He's back from a season ago as well, played some massive minutes for them. Braden Smith redshirted after he was a do-it-all guy over at Colgate as well. How much they're going to be relying upon him at the point guard spot, that remains to be seen, but he had a year to be able to take in the system. It's not like he was injured or anything like that. Emmanuel Inacetti, he came over from Abilene Christian. He's a nice offensive player, not really a guy that's going to give you a whole heck of a lot offensively, and actually came in from Tarleton State. Sometimes Tarleton State and Abilene Christian mix up because they both wear purple. They both are very defense-oriented teams that are very good at being able to generate turnovers, and both used to be out there in the WAC. I know that we've seen a lot of conference realignment over the last few years, but yep, certainly I do think that with Gonzaga, they are going to be fine with this. It does maybe knock them down a little bit. Maybe that Elite 8, Sweet 16 potential, that goes away a little bit. But I still think that this is a team that when it's all said and done, if Gonzaga reaches their full potential, they should be back in the Sweet 16. I believe before last year, they had made either 8 or 9 straight Sweet 16s, and they gave Houston a heck of a game last season as well. They do lose some pieces. I mean, when you lose a guy like a Ryan Nembhard who was able to dole it out the way that he was last season, that is no doubt a little bit of a loss, but I actually think that Gonzaga is going to be a little bit better on the defensive side of things. They did a nice job being able to retain someone like a Huff, so while I do think that Tyon Grant-Foster, it is unfortunate that he doesn't get his waiver, and you do want to be monitoring this, especially for some of these international guys. Now, for a lot of these international guys, they have had their waivers approved, and Tyon Grant-Foster has really been one of the outliers. The NCAA, I have noticed they don't want to really be picking too many battles. They might pick their battles with, Western Carolina rather than a team like a Gonzaga, but we did see someone like an Andre Jelovich, who he's over at Kentucky. He got his waiver approved, international man of mystery. He's going to be able to play right away. All those Illinois guys, I know they've got a lot of international guys. They should be all good to go as well. So something that you do want to monitor. It does hurt Gonzaga a little bit, but still have them number one in the WCC. Still think that they are going to be a rock solid top 25 team, if not a little bit better. A team that I think is going to be able to make a run at March if given the right bracket draw and all that good stuff. So wanted to unpack that, and now let's unpack a great chat with our good friend Ryan McIntyre on the flip side right here on Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for Coast to Coast Hoops with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Ryan McIntyre aboard. He does such a tremendous job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of college basketball. I know that he's also been doing a rock-solid job on the college football side of things, as he also is incredible with regards to all of his work, taking a look at West Virginia athletics. He does the Ryan and Rush show out there. He is based out there on the East Coast, out there in the great state of Virginia, so he's got his finger on the pulse of all of that. He and Kobe Dant with the college experience, they're doing a lot of conference previews, much like I was able to get all mine squared away, so they're doing an incredible job getting set for the upcoming season. You're able to follow Ryan on the old Twitter /X at Moneyline_Max, spelled M-A-C, and I have to throw this in there as well. Ryan McIntyre was a part of both the South Carolina and West Virginia coaching staff, so he's a great guy to have on to talk about some of these exhibition results, how much/little should we be making out of those. And Ryan, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
I always appreciate it, Greg. We're getting close, man. Closer and closer.
as this is going up, we're about 2 weeks away from the start of the college basketball season, and there are people like myself, like you, that are about as thirsty as it gets for college basketball. We are like people that are out there in the desert finding water when it comes to these exhibition results. And I know there's a lot of people on social media that think that a team has won/lost the national championship based on the exhibition results. And I want to get your thoughts here because I don't think that they're a total nothing burger, but at the same time, I do think that there are some people that they make way, way, way too much out of these exhibition results.
I completely agree. I don't want to call them not important at all because coaches can take stuff away and get their teams better, but coaches treat the exhibition games differently. Some coaches treat it like a real game situation. Other coaches will want to play their second unit, their younger guys, because maybe they have tough non-con to start the year, and they're like, man, when am I going to get my freshmen some meaningful minutes? Let's do it now when the games don't count. So I take very little from it. I've been a part of staffs that have gotten killed, honestly gotten drilled in the exhibition game. The year at South Carolina comes to mind. We got drilled by like 20 in the exhibition game, and we ended up going to the Final Four. So I don't take much from these.
Yep, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that as well, because I think the bigger takeaway is how the rotations are looking and just how the overall players are looking rather than the final score, because I think that everyone wants to see the final score, but they don't actually look at the box score and see who actually did/did not play.
Yeah, and the mysterious box score leaking always cracks me up. So it's one of the things, I wish we would just get rid of it completely and play more charity exhibition games where we could actually watch the game and see how the coaches are actually approaching these, and the money would go to charity. I think that we've seen more and more programs schedule these big, high-key, marquee matchups. So hopefully we get more and more in the future and we can get away from the closed scrimmages.
Oh, I'm right there with you. And I mean, trust me, when it comes to days like, I'm sure that you were feeling this, Friday afternoon, there was absolutely nothing going on in the sports world. It's like, throw on a charity exhibition matchup at like 2 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. You're going to get schmucks like myself that are going to be watching that. I'm not going to bet an exhibition game because, well, there's no handicap really to be had for exhibition games. You don't want to have more riding on it than the actual players out there on the court, but I certainly do think that that would be a great idea. And it's gotten to the point where we've got secret scrimmage results from secret scrimmages that don't happen. Like, I don't know if you saw this last week, but LaSalle versus Rutgers, there was apparently a leaked result that LaSalle knocked off Rutgers. The game never happened, and that leads to a lot of misinformation too. And I think that that's all the more reason to put zero stock into these because we don't know what that happened or even if the teams actually played.
It's crazy out there. Some of the information, and I think that's the day and age we live in too with social media. I mean, you got the burner accounts, you got the hacker accounts. Sometimes you see something breaking, you have to like double check on who actually reported it, if they're legit and if they're just trying to troll everybody. It's a crazy era we live in. Information is easy to be had, but sometimes dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. As Ryan McIntyre, he does such an incredible job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's joining me right here on Coast to Coast Hoops. And I want to bring up this conference because we had your good buddy over at the College Experience, Colby Danton, a few days ago. And I know that he was over at ACC Media Days, and he was talking a little bit about Virginia Tech and the international guys that they're bringing in, and just how he was taken aback a little bit by the fact that the ACC, it feels like it's put many more resources into their college basketball in general, just all across the conference, whether that be the players that they're bringing in, whether that be the coaches that were hired on in the offseason, and just as a whole, before we dive in on a few teams, how do you take a look at this ACC? Because it has been way down sans Duke over the last few years, and I do feel like there might be a little bit of a come up for this conference this year.
I completely agree, Greg. And it's almost like they were listening to your show and then our show over at the College Experience. It's like, in fairness to them, they got hit with a lot of legends retiring from the game, whether it was Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Jim Boeheim, Rick Pitino, Jim Larinaga, Leonard Hamilton. So they had Tony Bennett. They've had to replace legends. But at the same time, their hires that they've gone after have been extremely underwhelming. Now, I think it's completely changed over the last two coaching cycles. I love what Pat Kelsey's been able to do. I love that hire. He re-energized that Louisville fan base. That should always be a top 15 program with how much they packed that arena in and just love their Cardinals. And then I think NC State hit a home run out of the park here with Will Wade. We've had Will Wade on our show. He was doing NIL before NIL was legal, and he's going to get that program right back into the top 15, top 10, and contend in the ACC. And I like Ryan Odom. I'm down here in the Richmond area. I love what he was able to do at VCU and Utah State. Obviously, at UMBC, it kind of comes full circle, now going over to Virginia. So I think the ACC is really invested finally, and I think you'll see another wave of coaches maybe in the next cycle, whether it's a Boston College, a Syracuse, Georgia Tech, down the list where maybe they didn't hire the best guy the last time around, but maybe it's time to invest even more money, because if you don't invest, you're going to be left behind.
Yep, Louisville found that out very much the hard way when they hired on the Payne train, and that was a big giant load of pain for them before they finally got things righted with Pat Kelsey. And this is a coach that was hired on in the previous cycle going into year number 2. I think SMU is one of the more interesting teams in all of college basketball. Feels like a lot of people have them off the radar in terms of being outside the top 5 in the ACC, but I look at what they're all returning, and a guy in Kevin Miller, I refuse to call him Boopy because that's just a weird name in general, but and with him on the court versus off the court for Wake Forest from last year to 2 years ago, you saw the impact that he made. They get Samat Yitaglu back, BJ Edwards, and they've got a lot of good returning talent. A guy in Corey Washington that's versatile. I really think that SMU could be in for a big year that not a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. We just did our ACC 2 weeks ago. I think I had them slotted in the 5 or 6 spot. I think the top is pretty clear for the most part with Duke, Louisville, NC State. I know Carolina will always be in the mix. And then I think you get that next mix of teams. Clemson, you always got to throw in there just because Brownell and company have really found an identity over the last couple of years, is playing super slow and physical. But I think SMU is in that next clunk too, and next tier. And I think that they could be an NCAA tournament team. They held their own year one. Yeah, the schedule was very light, but I like what they're building there. And Enfield's a good coach, too. I thought he did a great job at USC. They just had a down year here and there. But for the most part, they were in the tournament year in and year out at a non-basketball school.
Oh, absolutely. And he was a covering machine whenever he was at USC in the NCAA tournament as well, which that's always something that I loved. And I know that Kobe, when he was on the podcast a few days ago, was talking about this team. And this is a team that, truth be told, I've been a little bit lower on as well, but we shall see what will be happening on the front of Virginia Tech with Mike Young. I know he was talking about Mike Young feels good about his team, and he was talking about the international man of mystery, Nikolas Avadeus. Hopefully I got that correct. The man from Greece who's like a 6'7", 6'8" point guard. And I do think that this is a fascinating team, and that could be the ultimate wild card in the ACC, because with Virginia Tech, my biggest knock on them has always been the defense has been a little bit clunky. We know that the Heizier-Miller situation and him not being able to run the point for the team just completely derailed them last year. And I do think that Mike Young is a rock-solid coach, and I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what they do this year.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it's his most talented team at Virginia Tech, going the international route where you can get guys that are pros and ready to play right away. I felt like he's kind of ran his program like Wofford, trying to like mix it into the ACC, and I think he's finding out that you can't win that way consistently in the ACC. You got to be perfect. I think the talent, they're more athletic, they're bigger, they're faster. And you mentioned it, Mike Young's a good coach. I mean, what he did at Wofford, winning NCAA tournament games, multiple SoCons for years and years. I'm a big fan of how his teams play basketball.
Yep, and over at Wofford, you always knew that team was going to run some rock-solid offense. Again, it was always coming down to the defensive side of things, but bringing back a guy like a Toby Lowell, I think is going to be rock-solid for them as well. And then this is a team that we have yet to talk about, and I don't know if I can go all in on this team, but I just feel like Syracuse is going to be better this year. Now, Aiden Autry, whether or not he's a good coach, a bad coach, or an indifferent coach, I think we're really going to find out this year, but they brought in a guy like a William Kyle III from South Dakota State. They actually retained quite a few guys like Donnie Freeman, who had his season cut short last year. J.J. Starlin is back, and now bringing in Nathan George, who is such a good facilitator over at Georgia Tech. I think that that's big because J.J. Starlin is a guy that, in my opinion, just really can't flow good offense, but he could be a really nice off-the-ball player, and bringing in a guy like a George, I think, was the missing ingredient for the Syracuse team.
Yeah, Syracuse kind of feels like the wild card team in this league. Talent-wise, they passed the eye test, but I just can't get on board with Autry yet. I need to see it to be a believer. So they kind of struggle with their identity. They went away from the 2-3 zone, but then they kind of went back to it at times. So, yeah, Syracuse is just a complete mystery team for me in 25-26.
Yeah, and I am in agreement with you there because I look on paper and I think that Syracuse actually has the talent to be an NCAA tournament team, but I just don't know if Aiden Autry is going to be able to press all the right buttons, be able to get these guys to play in the correct role. And are there a few other teams that you take a look at? This can be, I know that we've been talking a lot about the ACC, but this could be pretty much any conference where you feel like the team is really talented, but you just have question marks with regards to the coach. Maybe not even that you're super bearish on them, just that you want to see a little bit more, like it feels like we both feel about Mr. Aiden Autry.
I'd go to the Big 12, and he went to the Elite Eight in his first year, but it's starting to feel like a little bit it was fool's gold, everything aligned that year for Jerome Tang and K-State. They don't really have an identity as a program. They kind of just portal it up, mix and match, see what clicks. Offensively, they've been abysmal over the last couple of years. So K-State's a team that's kind of popped. I know we always talk about Arizona State with Bobby Hurley. We don't know how he's still there, but what's their identity going to be this year? Those are the two teams we just did the Big 12 where just from a coaching standpoint, I don't know what I'm going to get. And another team in the Big 12 is Utah. Like I think they brought in some talented pieces, but we haven't seen it with Jensen out there yet. He hasn't coached college basketball game. I usually don't like backing teams that I don't really know much. I haven't seen that roster together, and then a guy that has not coached a college basketball game yet.
Yep, and I know that we've talked about this team a few times in the podcast, but I think that they are worth bringing back up. Cincinnati is a team that I very much have starred in the Big 12 as well, because I'm fully convinced that Wes Miller is a rock-solid coach. You go back to what he was able to do over at UNC Greensboro, and that team year in and year out was really good, but they lose Jizzle James. He's out of the program. Apparently, Jalen Haynes, who he was coming on over from George Mason, they're going to be without him for quite a bit of time as well, and those are two big-time contributors that we thought Cincinnati was going to be relying upon. Now the offense is most likely going to be running through a guy that you had a chance to see up close and in person a few years ago over at West Virginia, and Kirk Kriisa, and that just leads me to be feeling very, very suspect about a Cincinnati team that you know that they're going to play defense, but I have big-time question marks with this offense.
You're saying it's a hot seat year for Wes Miller in Cincinnati, and then you bring in Kirk Kriisa. That's not a recipe I want to get on board with. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad you mentioned him. Put them in the group of teams that I just need to see from Wes Miller. I think he's a good coach. I think he did a good job at Greensboro. Maybe the fit's not right. They have just been so bad offensively in Cincinnati last couple years to really spoil good defensive teams.
Yeah, Ben, I mean, ever since they lost Mick Cronin, man, it's been a little bit of a struggle for the Cincinnati team as well. So I'm very curious as to what's going to be going on there. And I know you and Kobe are, much like myself, previewing for the upcoming season, getting all prepared. And I do want to give you the floor on this one because we've talked about a few teams of mystery. We've talked a little bit about the ACC, but just as you've been doing these previews over the last few weeks, is there a team or two that all of a sudden, as you did a little bit more of a deep dive, you're feeling a bit more bullish on, and maybe initially you weren't necessarily in on them, now you are after doing a little bit more researching?
I can't believe everybody's out on them. I like the Jayhawks, man. I think that they got a dose of Hunter Dickinson last year. I mean, you look at what Bill Self's been able to do when he has not had Hunter Dickinson. He's basically won the Big 12 every single year. I like the pieces, and I like Flory, another year in the system, no Dickinson. We're going to be able to space the floor there, and he's going to have a monster year. And then I love Peterson. I know a great last name. And
yes.
I think he's going to have a monster year. I think he's actually better than AJ over at BYU. And I really like the role guys that they brought in from different schools to kind of complement these two guys. So I think they're going to have more of an identity this year in Lawrence, and I trust Bill Self. So that team, and then also Texas Tech, the more and Iowa State, those two programs under McCassin and Otzelberger. I know Houston's getting all the flowers, and they deserve it at BYU with the hype machine, but don't sleep on Iowa State and Texas Tech once again in the Big 12.
Oh, absolutely. I can always get on board with a guy by the last name of Peterson. Those former North Texas coaches, they always do a rock-solid job. I think that you're going to be able to see that up close and in person this year as well out there in West Virginia because, Ryan, I know you're doing great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. You also do the Ryan and Rush Show that is dedicated all to West Virginia athletics. You're doing an incredible job of getting things all set for what is going to be an amazing college basketball season just 2 weeks away. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Always appreciate it, Greg. Can't wait to talk about real games here soon. But yeah, go check us out over at the College Experience year-round, football, basketball, and baseball too. And that'll be here before we know it as well. So yeah, it's a good time. Crossover month is finally here, and Feast Week will be here before we know it too, Greg.
Oh, those Feast Week tournaments are always amazing. You get a bunch of random college basketball games from day until night. South Carolina, the great state of South Carolina, always seems to provide a lot of great games on that front end. A man that always provides great insights is Ryan. A big thanks to him for joining me right here on Coast to Coast Hoops, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. And if you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Coast to Coast Hoops, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters M, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. For those looking for my conference preview podcast, if you look wherever you're getting this podcast, down the list of just days with a podcast, you're going to find all those conference previews. We have done all 31 conferences, so we're getting you guys set for what is going to be an absolutely amazing college basketball season. We're up to over 2,150 straight days without a missed podcast, so I'm with you guys every day. We're 2 weeks away from games getting started, and once we do get them started, picks and analysis on every single game, every single day is going to be coming your way. In these next 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot of chats. We're going to be unpacking the news that we're seeing in college basketball, much like we did with the Tyon Grant-Foster situation today. So we're going to get you guys set for what I hope to be the most profitable college basketball season ever, and I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.